All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, I'm going to be trying to predict the second half of the season. Over, under, how many wins do I think these teams are going to end up with? What do I think is going to go off? What I think is going to be bad in the second half of the season? We're going to talk all about it here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn on notifications to also like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. We are very, very close to 900 subs. So subscribing to the will mean a whole lot. Link to my Twitter and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So what we're doing here is I saw every team's over-under odds projected for the rest of the season, the second half of the season, all that stuff. So I'm going to be trying to predict over-under on the odds for each team's win totals. So that's what we're doing here. So I'm going to go through every team, over, under. All right, now let's really get into it. First one, we're starting with the Atlanta Hawks. They have their over-under projected at 37.5 wins. Right now, they're currently 26 and 30. I'm sorry, 26 and 29. I don't know why I said 30. 26 and 29, sitting at 8th in the West. So basically, my kind of rationale is how many games teams are gonna have to win. So basically, meaning Atlanta's gonna have to go 12 and 15 the second half of the year. And I went with the over on Atlanta on 37, so I think they can win 38 games. They have been struggling recently. 2025, since the calendar turn, has not been great for them. Jalen Johnson's going to miss the rest of the year. But I also am thinking they're going to have to compete with the rest of the East. And that's Miami, Chicago, Philly, Orlando, and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, I think they can win those games. Cope that in with the fact that they have an easy schedule, the 23rd hardest schedule. So that's a pretty easy schedule left to go. I'm going with the over on Atlanta. Not by a lot. All these are going to be very slightly, like literally a game or two difference. I think they could probably get to 38, 39 wins. If Jalen Johnson was here, I would have smashed the over, probably said 40. But we know Jalen Johnson, it's going to be tough. But I think Trae Young is going to have a chip on his shoulder, try to get into that play-in mix in the East, playoff mix in the Eastern Conference. And so I'm going to go with the over for Atlanta. Next is Celtics. Celtics, they're projected at 59.5. Currently, they're 39 and 16. Basically, so they're going to have to win 21 games the second half of the year. And I went with the under, very slight under. Even though Boston does have an easy schedule left, the third easiest schedule left in the league, I just don't think they get to 60 wins, especially depending with how Cleveland, how well they've been, and how Boston just hasn't been as dominant as the regular Boston Celtics we usually see. Their three-point shooting has been a little bit down, and I just don't think it's that big of a deal as well for Boston to have to win 67 games and all that stuff. They did that last year. So I think they're okay with being the second seed and doing that as long as they get to playoff time, because I feel like, at least in their mindset, we're the reigning champs. You're going to have to come in and beat us in a 7-game series still, and it doesn't matter, how many wins we have. So I'm going to go with the slight under. I think probably about 57, 56 be cool for Boston. I don't know about 60. So I'm going to go slight under for Boston. Next, the Brooklyn Nets. They're projected at 26.5. They're currently 20 and 34. Basically, they have to win. Can they win 7 games the second half of the year? This one I went very back and forth on, but ultimately ended up with the under. And I went with the under because the Nets, I mean, they've already won 20 games already. A lot more than people even expected for the entirety of the year in the first half of the year. And with Drew Fernandez as the coach and with the players they have, no way they can't win 7 games. But I'm also considering the fact that they have an average schedule left. They have the 15th hardest schedule, so it's about average schedule. They also want to lose very bad. And also, who says at some point throughout middle of March or whatever, or during the second half of the year, they're going to have guys like Cam Johnson, D'Angelo Russell sit out some games and have Tosan Evbuam and Tyrese Martin and Day'Ron Sharpe out there playing. And those are definitely going to be losses depending on the team they're playing. So I'm thinking, you know what? 7 games should be easy, and honestly, most likely it will be the over. I'm going to go with the under. I believe that the Nets are going to try to do everything they can to be as bad as possible, even though they are a lot more competitive than people think, no matter who they put on the court. Jordan Fernandez has shown he's a really good coach. But I'm going to believe that the Nets are going to try to do everything in their power to lose every single game they possibly can. So that's why I'm going to go with the under 27 or 26.5, probably be 25, 26 wins. Next, the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets are projected at 21.5. They're currently 13 and 39, so they're going to have to win 9 games second half of the year. And honestly, I went with the under on the Hornets. Even though, again, 9 games, they should be able to win 9 games. But it's the Charlotte Hornets. They already had 13 wins. Brandon Miller's going to be out for the year. LaMelo Ball has another ankle injury. He'll probably be in and out of the lineup as the season goes on. And without LaMelo Ball, there's no chance of them winning any game. Honestly, like you saw this entire year, with no LaMelo, with no Brandon Miller, they don't have a chance at winning any game. And so if LaMelo is going to miss some time again with another injury, I don't expect them to win a single game without LaMelo Ball. I'm projecting them to be about 19, 20, maybe they can get to 20. But 21 and a half, I think I can kind of confidently say under for the Hornets. Next, the Bulls. They're projected at 30 and a half. Right now, they're at 22 and 33. And for the Bulls, I went with the over. Even though, again, they did trade, Zach LaVine, all that stuff. I think this Bulls team is definitely capable of winning 31 games. I mean, having to win 9 games second half of the year, they're still kind of competing for the play-in, even though they shouldn't be. But at this point, they're already too far gone that they're going to have to compete in the play-in. And I think this team, Vucevic and Kobe White and them, can definitely get them to 30 wins. And that's just kind of what the Bulls are. They're just kind of mid. And I think this Bulls team can definitely get to that point. Do they want to get to that point? The fan base doesn't want to, but the players and the GM do. And I think they kind of can. I mean, again, they're in this Eastern Conference where it's weak after like 6. It's kind of weak. You have to compete with Miami and Philly and Brooklyn. Like they definitely could compete with those teams and win a lot of those games. So I'm gonna go over for the Bulls. Next up, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're projected at 63 and a half. Right now, they're currently 44 and 10. So basically, they're going to have to win 20 games second half of the year. And for Cleveland, I went with the over. Very slight over. I think probably 64, 65. Probably 64. 64 and 18, I think, is good. But I went with the slight over. I mean, they've only lost 10 games in the first half of the year. In a 54-game stretch, they lost 10 games. What makes me think they're going to lose 9 games in a 28-game stretch? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean. The only thing, and I'm gonna talk about this with another team later. Like the only thing I can see that makes me go that could be the under is if they already lock up a number 1 seed very early. That the last maybe week of the year they're just gonna play all the reserve like JT Thor and Luke Travers and Imani Bates are gonna play instead of Donovan and Darius and them, and they definitely can lose those games. But I think if they're actually playing their guys and actually still want to compete, I definitely think 64 is doable. So I'm going to go with the slight over. Mavericks, they're projected at 43 and a half. They're currently 30 and 26. They're going to have to win 14 games second half of the year. And for Dallas, I'm going with the under. Very slight under. Probably, I think 42, 41 maybe is more doable. But the injury bug has been hitting them so hard. I mean, they don't have a big man right now, really. Like Kessler Edwards is their kind of their center right now. AD is going to be out indefinitely, probably about for a month. Derek Lively probably won't be back for the rest of the regular season. Dan Gafford probably won't be back for the rest of the regular season. And that's going to really hurt him, especially in the Western Conference where you're going to have to face guys like, Nikola Jokic and some really good big men, on a daily basis. And Kyrie's going to have to take a lot of the backpacking on this team, which I don't know how much you want to really rely on that for Dallas if you're Kyrie. And it's going to be really tough. Second half of the year is going to be really tough for the Mavericks. They don't have a super hard schedule left, which is good. But still, it's going to be really, really hard to win games consistently for Dallas unless they can grind out some of these games like they have the last couple games before All-Star Weekend. They've grinded out some games. But it's going to be tough. I'm going to go with the under for Dallas. Next, the Nuggets. Nuggets are projected at 52 and a half. Right now, they're currently 36 and 19. So they're going to have to win 17 games second half of the year. Nuggets have been hot. They've been very hot. They are on an 8-game win streak. They've been on fire recently. And for them, I went with the over on Denver. Even though they do have the top 5, the third hardest schedule left in the NBA. It's going to be very tough. It's not going to be an easy one. But I believe in this Nuggets team. I believe Jokic, Jamal Murray has really found his groove. The players are playing really well. Hopefully Russell Westbrook gets back very soon. And I believe that the second half of the season, the Nuggets are going to have a really good run. And they're going to try to go for that 2 seed and try to get home court advantage as much as they possibly can. And I really do think the Nuggets are going to come out and show everybody, hey, don't forget about us. Just because OKC's doing their thing and the Lakers have do not forget that we are here too. So I think the Nuggets going to have a good second half, and I'm going with the over for them. Next are the Pistons. They're projected at 41 and a half. They are currently 29 and 26 on a 4-game win streak. They've been very good the second half of the year, basically meaning they're going to have to win 13 games the second half of the year. They have about one of the more an easier than harder schedule left in the league. It's gonna be interesting to see what Detroit does second half of the year. Me personally, I went with the under. Very, very slight under. I think 41 and 41. I honestly think they're going to go 41 and 41, not 42 and 40, even though it'd be nice to see them go 42 and 40. But it's going to be interesting. They're also going to have to compete with teams like the Magic, the Hawks, the Heat, which I think right now they're better than record wise, but they might be on the same tier as them in terms of being an actual team, And also, this is a lot of these guys' first time being in this type of position where second half of the year we're actually competing for something. Usually by this time, Detroit is well out of it and they're just trying to develop and get better. But now they're actually competing for something. I don't know how well it's gonna go for them. So I'm kind of trying to play it safe a little bit. I think 41 and 41. So I'm gonna go with the very, very slight under, but I hope they go over because I think that'll be really nice to see. Next, going to the Warriors. Warriors are projected at 44 and a half. Basically, can they win 45 games? Currently, they are 28 and 27. Meaning they're gonna have to win 7. They're gonna have to go crazy. They're gonna have to have a really good second half of the season. And honestly, for me, for Golden State, I went with the over. I'm believing in this Warriors team now with Jimmy Butler. I really love what I see from Jimmy Butler in Golden State, how he's been adapted into the team. I think he's going to help them win, especially if the games they're supposed to win. Like, they have 2 games against Charlotte coming up, a game against New Orleans, a Hornet, a Raptor game, Brooklyn game. Like, I think having Jimmy Butler would definitely help them win those type of games. And honestly, just winning the games you're supposed to win helps you get into the playoffs. And they also have an easier schedule left. They have, I think, the second easiest schedule left in the entire Western Conference. So that also helps out a whole lot. And I'm believing in this team, man. I really do. I think Jimmy's going to help them a whole lot. And I think it's going to help them, have a big second half of the year. Maybe even, I don't know if they're going to escape the play-in, but at least have home court advantage in the play-in. Next up, the Houston Rockets. They're projected at 51 and a half. They're currently 34 and 21. They're going to have to win 18 games second half of the year. For the Rockets, I went the under. I just think, they have been a little bit on a struggle bus recently. Again, they're another inexperienced team, and I just don't know how well they're gonna do for the second half of the year. Last year they had an amazing second half of the year, almost snuck into the play-in. This year's a little different. Now they're on the other end, where they're at the top trying to hold their spot when teams like the Lakers and Clippers and Timberwolves are gonna be right there coming for them. So Houston, I'm going with the under. I think probably about 49, probably 50 wins. I think is good. 49 to 50, maybe 48 wins, but 52, 53, I don't know about that yet. So I'm going to go with the under for Houston. Next up is the Pacers. Pacers are projected at 47 and a half. Right now, they're currently 30 and 23. They're going to have to win 18 games the second half of the year. The Pacers have been on fire for the last about 2 months. And for the Pacers, I went with the over. Believing in them, that they're going to try to finish out the regular season strong. They don't have a super hard schedule left at all. They do have some hard games, but not a super hard schedule left. And they have, I think they're like 20 and 8 so far in the last 2 months. So what makes me think they can't win another 18? You know what I mean? Like, they're definitely gonna be competing with the Bucks and the Pistons and all that stuff, trying to stay in that top 6 and trying to position for home court advantage. But I believe in the Pacers. I really believe that they have found a new gear. They're playing very, very good basketball right now. Defensively, they've been pretty solid. Everybody's been stepping up. They're winning the games they're supposed to win. And with a schedule like this where they have to play Washington twice, Charlotte, Toronto, Brooklyn twice, I think they could definitely win those games. And so I'm going to believe in Indiana. I'm going to go with the over. Next up is the Clippers. They're projected at 46 and a half. Right now, they're currently 31 and 23. Basically, they're going to have to win 16 games in the second half of the season. And for the Clippers, I went with the over, even though they have the 5th hardest schedule left in basketball. So if any, I said it before, I talked about the Clippers, and I talked about breaking down the West playoff race a couple days ago. You can go check that video out. I said out of all these teams, they probably have the biggest potential to fall. But believe Harden is coming back. Powell's back. Well, back from All-Star now. Those two are playing really good. They have the defensive capabilities, where at this point of the year, your defense and winning close games is going to have to be a emphasis, especially when you have a hard schedule like the Clippers, and I think the Clippers have the defense to do it. Kawhi Leonard is back as well. And hopefully Kawhi Leonard now can kind of just coast, or try to, not coast, the opposite of that. He's going to try to step up, and they're going to have him put a lot more opportunity on him and load on him to kind of be the old Kawhi Leonard back, even though he doesn't have to be that fully because you have James Harden and Norman Powell. But having Kawhi just show a little bit more and be a little bit better in the second half of the season and really try to up his conditioning before he gets to playoff time. And I think if he can do that, the Clippers are going to be a tough team to beat. So I'm going to believe in the Clippers. I'm going to go with the slight over. Probably about 47 wins, I think. Next, I have the Lakers. They're projected at 49.5. They're currently 32-20, so they're also gonna have to win 18 games. Second half of the year, get to 50. The Lakers also have a very hard schedule left, sixth hardest schedule left in the league. And for the Lakers, I'm gonna go with the under. I just don't know about 50 wins for them, even though again you have LeBron and Luka, and apparently Luka's gonna be off a minutes restriction. So obviously, if you have those two, you can have a chance to win every night. But with the tough schedule they have left, with them still not having big man depth and the defense still being a little bit of a question mark, I'm not going to put all my chips in the middle of the table for the Lakers, especially with, again, me saying this season kind of just going to be like whatever happens, happens for the Lakers the rest of the year. And so I'm going to go with the under for the Lakers. Probably about 48. I think 48 wins, 48, 49 wins. I don't know about 50 yet, though. Next, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. They're projected at 52.5. They're currently at 36-18. Memphis has the fourth hardest schedule left in the NBA. It's going to be very interesting to see how this season, second half of the year goes, especially with Denver right on their tail. For the Grizzlies, I'm going to go with the very slight under. I think probably 52, 51 wins. Because I'm projecting Denver to have 53, 54 wins. I don't know if we're going to have two teams, especially with OKC is going to win 60 plus games. I don't know if we're going to have that many teams have that many wins, especially with how tough the Western Conference is. So for Memphis, I'm going to go with the very slight under. I think, again, they're probably going to win 50 games, but I don't know about 53, 54, probably like 50, 51, possibly 52. But I think slight under for Memphis, even though, and I think they're still going to be probably a top 3 seed in the West. They're still going to be very, very good. I just don't know about that many wins. Next, we have the Miami Heat. They're projected at 41.5. Right now, they're currently 25-28. They have been struggling a little bit going into All-Star break. They do have an easy schedule left, the 25th easiest schedule left in the league. Still have 3 Washington games, 2 Hornets games, stuff like that. And for Miami, I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to believe that the Heat, when they first got Andrew Wiggins to them, I really believe that the Heat were going to go on a big run. They did lose the last couple games for All-Star break. Wasn't encouraging. But I do believe with this All-Star break and incorporating Wiggins and Mitchell and all them, with Tyler Hero back and all that, I think they're going to have a pretty nice second half of the year, and they're going to win the games they're supposed to win, which is what Miami does. I think, especially them looking at the schedule, seeing we have a couple games against teams that are not very good, we're going to take care of business. I think the Heat, that's the type of team they are, and they always kind of around this time start to kind of find their rhythm and find a way. So for the Heat, I'm going to go with the slight over. I think probably about 42, 43 wins for Miami. Next, Milwaukee Bucks. They're projected at 45.5. They're currently 29-24. They do have one of the hardest schedules. I think the hardest schedule left in the Eastern Conference left. They have a couple hard games left to go. They've been kind of up and down as season's gone on. And for them, I'm going to go with the under for Milwaukee. Very slightly, though. Probably about 45 wins. I'm projecting 45. They definitely can get 46, 47. But I don't know. It's just... this one is a very hard one. Honestly, I was really going back and forth, debating it, but ultimately went with the under, just because they've just been very on and off the entirety of the year. Like, they started the year bad, then they had the NCAA tournament run, and since then they kind of just been like win 3 games, lose a couple games, win a couple games, lose a couple games. It's just kind of been like up, down, up, down, up, down. And when you're playing, especially for the rest of the year, when they're gonna have this harder schedule left to go, it's gonna be very tough to keep going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So I'm going to go with the under for them very slightly again. But yeah, I'll probably project about 45 wins. Next, Minnesota Timberwolves. They are projected at 46.5. They're currently 31-25. So meaning they're going to have a really nice second half of the year. But they also have the easiest schedule left in the Western Conference. Still have 3 Jazz games, 2 Pelican games, Hornets games, 2 Nets games. It looks like easy, and it looks like this should be an easy over. But I'm just thinking, how much can I actually rely on this Minnesota Timberwolves team that also has been very streaky? Like, they just got a good win against OKC, but they also have to play OKC 2 more times in the next 3 games. So how much can I really trust that win to be a for real win, especially the last game before All-Star break and all that stuff? So I don't know how much I can put my faith and belief in Minnesota, so I'm going with the under, very slightly under. I think probably about 44, 45 wins. I just don't know how much I can actually trust this Miami team. Minnesota Timberwolves team. And how much I can put my faith into this team, especially they're so injured right now, too. With no Randall, no DiVincenzo, Conley's missed some games, Rudy's been in and out for a little bit. So it's like, how much do I believe in Anthony Edwards carrying this Minnesota Timberwolves team to a really good second half of the year, maybe even sneak them out of the play-in? I don't know how much I can, so that's why I'm going to go with the slight under. For the Pelicans, they're projected at 21.5. They're currently 13-42. They do not have they have the 10th hardest schedule left in the league. They went through the trade deadline. All that is set. So there's a big chance for either one of them. I'm going with the under. The over thinking is everybody's here now. Zion's been good. CJ's been really good. Trey's been really good. There's no more trade deadline or anything to kind of worry about. So now this team is this team. And maybe they can go on a little run and shock some people. But then also you think about the under where it's like, it's the Pelicans. They just were on like a double-digit game losing streak before their last win before All-Star break. Zion's always going to be in and out. He's always going to be play a game, win a game, miss a game. And it's also the Pelicans. The injury bug is just a curse over there. So you never know who else is going to get hurt, who's next to get hurt. And also, if they've only won 13 games throughout the first 50-something, what makes me think they're going to win 9 of the last 20? And also, who's to say they're 15 games out of the play-in? Who's to say midway through March they're going to be like, you know what? We're 17 games out of the play-in. Zion, you can sit the rest of the year. CJ, you can sit the rest of the year. And let's just let Antonio Reeves and Jamal Cain and them play the rest of the year out, which are going to be definite losses in the West. So that's why I'm going to go with the under. I think probably about 19 wins for New Orleans, for 19-63. The Knicks are next. They're projected at 54.5. They're currently 36-18, meaning they're going to have a really nice second half of the year. They have the 8th hardest schedule left in the league. They still have 3 Cleveland games, 2 Boston games, a Grizzly game. Still have a tough schedule left. So the Knicks, I'm going to go with the very slight under. I think 53 to 54 wins. I don't know about 55, 56 wins. It's definitely possible. I wouldn't be too surprised if they do win that many games, considering how good their offense is, that they can, on any given night, go off and get 130, But I just don't know how, I don't know. Especially with, they have a little bit of a gap between 3, 4, and 5 in them. If they start off the second half of the year high, I wouldn't be too surprised if they maybe sit some guys some points throughout the year, especially with, all the minutes they play, just at some point, just because. So for the Knicks, I'm going to go with the very slight under at like 53, between 52 and 54. I think is a good spot for New York. Next, we have OKC. They're projected at 65.5, which is the highest on this list. They're currently 44-10, meaning they're going to have to win 22 games in the second half of the year, go 22-6. For OKC, I want the over, because why not? I mean, they already have 44. Chet's back. You know how great they are. I think they're also going to try to go for that much as well. They're going to try to win as many games as possible. And the only downside to this, and this is a very risky run, honestly, for me personally, like for them to think to win 66, 67, just because they're probably going to have the number 1 seed locked up very, very soon. So at some point in the last 2 weeks of the year, there's going to be a lot of games that are going to be like, you know what, let's just, why do we need to play all these guys? Let's just have Ousmane Dieng and Adam Flagler play. And those are going to be losses, most likely. I mean, but it is the Thunder, so who knows? So that's the only downside to this, but, why not have some fun with it? Go over. I'm going to say probably maybe, what if they win 67-15? Why not? Next, we have the Orlando Magic. The Magic are projected at 42.5. Right now, they're currently sitting at 27-29. It's been a real struggle for them. They have one of the easier schedules left in the league, and I want the over because I think out of every team, they are one of the more desperate teams that needed the All-Star break to kind of recharge and re-energize them. Paolo and Franz got thrown right back into the mix, and they really struggled offensively. I think now with the All-Star break, to kind of everybody chilled out. No one intended any All-Star thing for them, so they can have a full week of rest to chill out. Hopefully Jalen Suggs comes back. And I think I'm believing in the Magic the second half of the year. They're going to be one of the better teams the second half of the year. They're going to take a big jump and get right back into that top 6 in the Eastern Conference. I really think they do. I really think they needed this All-Star break to kind of chill out and recharge the batteries, and hopefully I believe that the Magic are going to have a really nice second half of the season. Next are the Philadelphia 76ers. They're projected at 34.5. They're currently 20-34, meaning they're going to have to win 15 games second half of the year. They have one of the easier schedules left in the league, but I'm still going to go with the under, just because at this point, we don't really know. Like, honestly, I thought by this point Philly would be in the play-in mix by now. Like, they would be 9-10. They're still a couple games behind the Bulls, still fighting with Miami, still tied with Brooklyn. Like, it's still bad, and I don't know if I can really motivate myself to believe the second half of the year is going to be the time for the Sixers to kind of grow. We still don't know what Joel's injury is like. Paul George has still kind of been just on and off. They already sold some of their older veteran guys, Like I just believe at some point, I mean, they're still going to try to compete, obviously, because they're not they can go on a 3 game win streak and be in the play-in, you know. But I just don't know how much I really believe in Philadelphia doing that. You know, they haven't given me anything besides the names on their roster to show me that they're going to be that good. So for Philly, I'm going to go with the under. Next, I have the Phoenix Suns. They're projected at 41 and a half. They're currently 26 and 28, and they have the hardest schedule left in the NBA. Their easy games against the Bulls and Spurs, who have similar records to them. They have a very hard, like dang near every game is going to have to be against a playoff team for the rest of the year for the Phoenix Suns. And 41 and a half, so basically they have to win 42 games. They have to win 16 games second half of the year. It's not super tough, but when you think about them having the hardest schedule left and them already going through a lot of stuff, I just don't know how much. Again, kind of similar to Philly, but like, why should I believe in Phoenix when they haven't given me too much to believe in at all? So I'm gonna go with the under for Phoenix. Think about 41 wins. I think 41 and 41 probably is a good mark to be around play-in conversations in the West. But because I just don't know how much I can believe in this Suns team that already has so much going on with it. Like they haven't given you much. They're under 500 right now. They're a couple games out of the play-in. Like I don't know how much I can believe in Phoenix, making a big run, especially when they're gonna have the toughest schedule left in the league. The Portland Trail Blazers are next. They're projected at 30 and a half. They're currently 23 and 32. I mean, they're going to have to win 8 games second half of the year. They don't have a super hard schedule left. They just were on a hot streak before. They lost the last couple games before All-Star break. But I'm going to go with the over. I think they can hit 31. I think they can. I think they're going to be motivated. They're going to try to keep that magic going that they had, even though they do have DeAndre Ayton is now hurt, which is a big miss for them. But I think they're going to have to kind of try to keep that magic. And with all these teams going out, especially in the West, and trying to, get those playing spots, I think the Blazers can definitely play a spoiler to a lot of these teams. So I'm going to believe in Portland. I'm going to say over for the second half of the year. Next, we have the Sacramento Kings. They're projected at 42 and a half. They're currently 28 and 27. They do have the second hardest schedule left in the NBA, so it's going to be very tough for them. But having to win, 15 games second half of the year, I don't think it's super, super tough. With the offense they have, defensively is going to be kind of a struggle. But for Sacramento, I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to believe in Sacramento. They can hit 43 wins. They've been very good since Doug Christie's taken over. We're on a little bit of a good streak before they lost their last game before All-Star break to New Orleans. But I think now with a whole week to incorporate Zach LaVine into the system and, trying to figure things out now kind of with the De'Aaron Fox thing kind of out of their heads and past them now, I think they're going to get some good wins, play some good ball. And I believe DeMar DeRozan's going to be clutch and, try to take them home. So, I'm going to believe in Sacramento. I'm going to go over for the second half of the year for them. Next, the San Antonio Spurs are projected at 39 and a half. They're currently 23 and 29, meaning they're going to have to they're going to have a pretty nice second half of the year. They are going to have a whole week to kind of incorporate De'Aaron Fox to the mix. Since Fox is there, they're still trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. But for the Spurs, I'm going to go with the under very slightly. I think probably about 37, 38. I don't know if they can get to 40 wins. Right now, they're going to have to go on a bit of a heater, which is not impossible when you have De'Aaron and Wemby and all that stuff, and hopefully they can figure something out. But I just don't know how much I put my faith in them. But it's okay also, because this is more of a test run, trial run, trying to see what works, what doesn't work. It would be nice to see them make the play-in and make a push, which is not impossible. Again, they're only 3.5 games out of the play-in, so they can go on a little win streak and be right in there. But I'm just not going to put all my faith and confidence into it. And I think it's okay. So for the Spurs, I'm going to go with the slight under. Next, the Toronto Raptors are projected at 26 and a half. They're currently 17 and 38, but they do have the easiest schedule left in the NBA. They still have 3 games against the Wizards, 2 games against the Jazz, 2 games against the Hornets, 2 games against the Nets, 2 Philly games, 2 Chicago games. Like they still have, they play pretty easy game. Like they only play up against a couple teams that are actually like that good. So they have a chance to really have a big second half of the year. They're kind of healthy. That quickly back. RJ's here. Scotty's here. I don't know what the BI situation is if he's even going to play at all this season. But I'm going to go with the over for the Raptors. Even though this is against what they want. They want to lose every single game possible. And they want to not hit the over. And so far, I mean, they've only got 17 wins. So it makes me think they're going to win 10 games second half of the year. But I've been saying it all year. I genuinely do believe if the Raptors are actually trying to win games, they definitely can with the team they have. And I think now with the schedule they have, where they have against they can beat up on Washington, they can beat up on Utah, even though they have not too many more wins than those teams have, I think they have so much more talent than those teams have. I think they're actually going to try to show in the second half of the year. We have talent. Like, we have Scotty, we have RJ, we have IQ, we have Grady Dick, we have all these guys here. Like, we actually are talented. And maybe next year, it could show us for next year, hey, this is a team you want to take serious next season because we're that good. Like, we actually have a solid team. So the Raptors, I'm going to believe in the Raptors, and I think they're going to surprise a couple teams in the second half of the season. Next are the Utah Jazz. They're projected at 19.5. They're currently 13-41. So 19.5, basically, are they going to win 20 games or not? They definitely could, because 7 games, I mean, any team can win 7 games, and they're already at 13. So basically, can they double their win amount for the second half of the year? Well, not double their win amount, actually. No, not double. But, hit like a quarter of their win mark second half of the year. I'm going with the under. Utah should try to lose every game possible. They have a tough schedule left. They still have to play OKC twice, Boston twice, Memphis twice, Cleveland, Houston 3 times. They still have a very hard schedule left, and I think this is the time of season as well where guys like Larry Markkinen is going to sit, Clarkson, Sexton are going to sit. They're going to have Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Johnny Juzang, all those guys, Cody Williams, get as many minutes as possible to see what they got. And those are definitely going to be losses. So for Utah, I'm going with the under. And finally, we have the Washington Wizards. They're projected at 13.5. Right now, they are 9-45. So basically, are they going to win 5 games? Are they going to win 5 games out of 28 in the second half of the season? They do have the second easiest schedule left, but then again, every team is better than them record-wise, so that doesn't really matter. Yeah, they're very bad. Are they going to win 5 games? Honestly, I went with the over. I'm going over on Washington, which is the first time I think I've ever went over on Washington in maybe 5 years. But I'm going with over only because they're at 9. Can they win 5? They can catch some teams on some off nights. I think they can definitely get to 14-68. It'll be tough, honestly. Like, it would be very tough, but it definitely is more possible than a lot of other things happening. So for Washington, you know what? Why not go with the over? And yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me know down in the comment section some of your picks. Who do you think is going to have a really good or really bad second half of seasons? Who's going to make the play-in, and all this stuff like that. Thank you guys for the views on videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. Once again, we're very close to 900 subs. So if you do like the content, hit subscribe to me a whole lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.